Fun stuff. Hey, how you went doing all this stuff by yourself? That's what usually happens. It's like, I'm using And if I wanted to have a dog, I'd be looking everywhere. I don't have one back there. I don't think my dog is saving, which I just happens to be in that box.
But I heard about her bringing it over here. I thought it was like a HP or something. I didn't know it was gonna be.
Well, I didn't know it was going to be used for the next people. I don't know if they deal for it. Sometimes DJs. I know it's funny.
I mean, we would have still had to get the circus anyway.
I don't know where this one came from. But
I don't know. All vegan.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Mr. Ronaldo? Present. Mr. Marshman? Here. Mr. Lee?
here.
Mr. Martrey? Here. Mr. Martucci?
Here.
Mr. Mondial?
Here.
Mr. Pinzella? Mrs. Sangston?
Here.
And Mr. O'Malley?
Here. Stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. We were in executive session from 6 p.m. to approximately 7:45 this evening. We had talked about safety and security. We had some contract issues and personnel. For those of you who weren't here Monday night, we had an executive session from about 6 p.m. to approximately 7:30, and it was on safety and security, contractual issues, and personnel. With that, I request approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Request approval of the Treasury report. Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Request approval of the payment of general fund bills and federal fund bills. Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Payment of the cafeteria fund bills. Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Tonight we have public comment on agenda item, Phyllis Koval, grounds use request.
Good evening, my name is Phyllis Koval and I'm the president of the Connellsville Lions Club. If you don't mind, I have my request written out just so I didn't miss any information that I'd like to present to you. Snyder's Dairy is offering to donate gallons of whole, homogenized, pasteurized milk to anyone. This is excess milk that was not used by schools or businesses. It will have a shelf life of 2 weeks and it will be fresh. Instead of dumping it or flooding the market, which would drop the price of the milk and hurt the farmers, the dairy applied for and received monies from the government to purchase the milk from the farmers and then process it and offer it free of charge. They approached the Connellsville Lions Club about coordinating a delivery in our area after they did 2 very successful ones in the Masontown area. The milk will be delivered in a refrigerated tractor-trailer truck on the day chosen. The Lions Club will take responsibility for spreading the word about the milk giveaway to the community and overseeing the passing out of the gallons and the traffic control. We're going to request from them a starting amount of 1,500 gallons, and any gallons not given out will be donated to the Connellsville Community Ministries. Our request to the Connellsville Area School Board is to use the area surrounding the high school as the distribution point. The thought is that the traffic can flow around the school. No one will exit their car. They will pull up to the distribution point where they will be asked how many gallons they would like. There is no limit on the amount. Then the milk will be placed in their car or trunk so there's no close contact to maintain social distancing. All lions and helpers will wear masks. The other request is to have the school district send out on their electronic notification, your all call, of the milk giveaway to all district families and employees to help get the word out. And then the Lions Club, through Mayor Lincoln and the city, will spread the word throughout the community, on Facebook, or however we can best get this word out. There's no income requirement for the distribution of this milk. Anyone can and is welcome to it. And again, if you do the all call, we would ask that you remind that there is no cost and no limit to the amount requested. Pending board approval and availability from the dairy. We would like to do this on 2 Saturdays in July. Saturday, July 11th from 9 to noon. Saturday, July 25th from 9 to noon. We hope the school board will approve this request. We thank you for helping the Lions Club follow our motto of we serve in aiding our community. I have a couple copies of this that I thought I could leave with you if you want to look at it or maybe make that.
Yeah, if there's no concern from any more or concerning questions from board members, is it okay if we add this to the agenda tonight? Seeing there's no concern or questions, the only other, Mr. Bradley, I will refer to you and our solicitor, is the all-call an issue?
I'm unequivocal. I mean, I understand the request.
We just thought that would be such a great way to get that word out to all of our students. I realize a lot of people do Facebook, but not everyone does, and not everyone gets the courier. And in Masontown, their first delivery, they did 1,500 gallons. The second time, they did 2,000 gallons. So if we can do that and put it out into our community, whatever you can help to get the word out.
Our goal for our school messenger is always emergencies and information, and we try to balance that so that when people get our calls, they don't ignore them. We try to balance that sometimes the way to try to work. But I think this is an annual endeavor, and we let it
And if the school board approves it, if it's okay with you, then our next step will be, I do have to go back to the dairy to verify the dates, and if those Saturdays work for them, I can let you know as soon as I know that, so that we can then proceed.
Sure. And that, solicitor, does that have to be a motion under buildings and grounds, or can that be just added under information items? Buildings and grounds. Okay. You're adding it. You're on the ball. So, Mr.
I just get the contact information, I call you and we can get the message.
When he reads the motion, what he needs to do is go to section
Okay, while our solicitor's working on that motion, we'll continue with the agenda. Under athletics, please.
Supplemental resignation. Request approval to accept the supplemental resignation of Andrea Costable, middle school head cheerleader coach, contingent upon being hired as middle school assistant cheerleading coach. I so move.
Motion and second, all
Aye.
opposed, motion carried.
Supplemental resignation. Request approval to accept the supplemental resignation of Shelley Hand, middle school assistant cheerleader coach, effective immediately. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All supplementals. Request approval of the 2021 fall supplemental athletic contracts pending solicitor review. I so move.
We have a motion and a second, and I hear a question.
Mr. Washington, inquired on Monday night, couldn't answer for any program we're going to have to do, annual and fall supplemental. When you get a chance to talk about it.
Yes, so I have a chance to review that. We're going to have language to the specific contract to address that specifically.
Good, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Annual supplementals. Request approval of the 2021 annual supplemental athletic contracts pending solicitor review. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Supplemental positions. Request approval of the following supplemental contracts for the 2021 school year, contingent upon receipt of the signed contract no later than 1 month after issuance, including the posting of the position if the contingency is not met, pending solicitor review. Senior high school, boys soccer assistant coach, Jonathan Pushkar. Varsity football assistant coach, Sean Benjamin. Middle school, football head coach, Chad Lembo. Football assistant coach, Ray Orndorff, Todd Barrett, Jim Baker. Cheerleader head coach, Tiffany Grove. Cheerleader assistant coach, Andrea Costa. Swimming head coach, Kristen Stewart. Swimming assistant coach, Carrie Detweiler. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Return to participation protocol. Request approval of the CASD return to the participation protocol in accordance with PDE, PIAA, and PA-BOH guidance. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Fall equipment and supplies. Request approval to award bids for fall sports supplies and equipment to the lowest responsible bidder meeting specifications. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Volunteer coaches. Request approval of the following volunteer coaches. Jason Vandermeer as the girls' middle school basketball. James Barnes as boys' varsity football. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
There was an athletic committee held on June 16, 2020. That's all I have. Mr. Mortray? Mr. Lake? Mr. Evans is on vacation.
Thank you.
That's all we have.
Thank you. Moving to Buildings and Grounds. Mr. Martroy, if you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under Buildings and Grounds, request approval to Doty in Township Elementary School in the amount of $4,300 if using district dumpster and $4,600 if not, to be paid by Capital Reserve Fund, and I submit.
Motion is second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to advertise for sealed bids for the unused equipment as proposed, and I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
And the last one here, motion to approve the request of the Connersville Lions Club for the distribution of milk to persons within the district, with any additional amounts to be donated to the Connersville Area Community Ministries for the distribute and share such information on the district on-call system through the summer of 2020 on such dates and times as may be agreeable to the district. Distribution shall be at no cost or further condition to individuals or the district. And I so move.
We have a motion and a second. This wasn't on Monday night's agenda. You heard Mrs. Koval's presentation. Anybody from the audience have any additional questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, Mr. O'Matic. Mrs. Sangston, do you have anything further? Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Kirsch. That's all we have.
Thank you. Carnegie Free Library, please.
Thank you. I have nothing. Mr. Martucci?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Connersville Area Career and Technical Center, please.
Thank you, Mr. O'Matic. Mr. Martucci, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Mongello?
Nothing, thank you.
Is Mr. James here? Can't see them. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Memorandum of Understanding, request approval of a memorandum of understanding between the Private Industry Council, PIC, of Westmoreland Fayette Incorporated in the Connersville Area School District to operate its pre-K counts program at Springfield, Clifford, and Pritz Elementary School beginning August 1, 2020 and ending June 20, 2021. PIC shall pay the district a sum of $9,000 per year for 9 monthly installments of $1,000 as proposed, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Mongello, anything further?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Sangston? Mr. Bradley? That's all we have under curriculum.
Thank you. Stay with you, Ms. Seibel.
Yes. On Monday, I mentioned that we would have a motion, and the motion, I would like to read it now. It's for a software contract. Request approval for a 1-year contract extension to Seneca Valley for the interactive and adaptive personalized learning MyPass and VB Smart for the district-wide cyber use pursuant of the proposal received by the district, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. As stated, this wasn't on Monday night's agenda. Anybody from the audience have a question on this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Harshman, anything further?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Mongello?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Coast? Okay, that's all we have, Mr. O'Malley.
Thank you.
You're all right.
Oh,
Paul?
Just for cyber, I think, and cyber, Falcon Online Learning Academy, I wanted to thank the board for having the foresight to make that motion to allow us to buckle the plans for our students and on behalf of the student body, thank the board.
all right, thank you. Moving to federal programs, Mr. Martucci, please.
I have nothing, Mrs. Sangston. Mr. Martre. And that's all, Mr. O'Malley, thank you.
Thank you. Finance, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we get started with the agenda portion, Mrs. Grinnell, the Chief Financial Officer, has a presentation.
Mr. Mongello.
Our revenues are expected to be $75,712,666, and I'll go into a little bit of the detail later. And the expenditures, with all our cuts, are $77,745,648. That is a little over $2 million of deficit for next year. We expect to pay that from fund balance, and we're hoping to have an increase in fund balance this year for expenses we may not have incurred due to COVID, which will help offset the $2 million. We anticipate the whole $2 million should be covered, but we cannot, in today's environment, we can't promise that. Included in the revenues, just so you all know, is a tax increase to the index, which is only about $500,000, which will represent approximately $500,000 in income to the district, if you so choose to vote for the increase. If not, this deficit will be up another $480,000 when you pass the resolution to accept the budget either with or without the tax increase. I have two resolutions prepared for you. You can see the breakdown of our revenues between local, state, federal, and other, and the change. The local decrease, usually you would expect to see revenues increase. We're expecting a decrease because of all the unemployment and earned income tax. The state money has decreased also, mainly due to a reduction in our transportation subsidy. Since we have budgeted not to pay the entire transportation costs this year. Federal has been increased by $1.6 million, and that's from one-time special COVID money from the federal government. And other, of about $750,000, is due to us refinancing bond issues, which you have passed in previous meetings. Expenditures. Our salaries budget has gone down. That's mainly due to not replacing teachers who have retired and one administrator who is retiring. So even though there's an increase in contract raises, the overall effect was a slight change of about $300,000. Benefits projected to go down about $13,000. Our purchase services we expect to go up $9 million, which is about $1.5 million. And purchase services for such things as the special ed costs and the outplacements for students, audit, legal fees, things like that. Those are all purchase services, and we expect them mainly to go up due to outplacements for special education. A slight increase in supplies and utilities at 2.1%. Property and equipment is up about $251,000, mainly due to equipment we have to purchase for COVID. Cleaning, we don't know what all we have to purchase yet, but there will be quite a bit. Financing and other is basically our debt payments on the bonds. For the Career Center budget, we have, since the last time you saw the preliminary budget, we reduced it a little bit, maybe about $50,000 in expenses. We went back and revisited everything we could. Our revenues and expenditures are balanced $6.5 million. And if we balanced our budget this year, it would still be about $6.5 million. But we anticipate it to be about $2 million to $2.5 million to the good because of expenditures we did not pay for. So that will help offset for next year. I wanted to show you that this week, all the school districts across the state will be having their board meetings to determine what to do about property tax increases. And that's a really touchy subject, especially when, in light of everything that's happened in the last few months. I wanted to point out that if we would raise it, it would go from 14.281 mils to 14.7754 mils. We would still be the lowest in Fayette County, even if the other school districts elected not to increase their taxes. And after talking with most of the business managers, most of them were suggesting an increase this year, and one of the main reasons is next year we have something called an index. Every school district is given an index of how much we're allowed to raise that millage. It's based on a number of factors like our poverty rate, our square miles. A number of factors go into it. Our rate this year was 3.7%. From what we have heard from the state, they're really afraid that the index next year could go down to 1% or nothing. The state may require a property tax raise. So if you don't do it this year, it may not be available for next year. If you do raise it, with the median house in Missouri School District being about $62,000, the monthly increase of someone's property taxes would be $2.75 or about $33 a year. And this is my last slide. What I did was I just projected very, very quick projection next year. And what I did was I said, okay, this year we have a $2,032,000 loss. That is with the property tax increase. However, if I take our budget this year, and the only thing I do is assume everything is equal, except we have to pay our contractual raises in our collective bargaining agreements, and I assume it's 3%, and it could be more. I really didn't look at the schedule, but it's probably 3.5%. We have a number of one-time revenues included in our budget for this year, which is the bond refunding, our COVID revenue from the state, and the federal COVID revenue, which is almost $3 million of one-time revenue this year that we needed to balance the budget. If we estimate our expenses with nothing else being raised, which is really unrealistic because everything goes up, our expenses next year will be $78,628,000, which will be about a $5,880,000 short. And if you add another $500,000 to that, you're looking at around $6.3 million next year. And we have gone through every expenditure. I think the board knows that we looked at every piece of software. We've looked at everything you can think of to try to cut expenditures. And this is realistically what we're looking at next year. So, and we're not alone. All the other school districts are having this same exact talk with their constituents this week. So next year, and no one knows what's going to happen next year. It does not look good. But this year, we have about a 2 million overdraft. Does anybody have any questions on anything, where we stand or anything in the That was utilities and supplies. Yeah, you're talking electricity, you're talking water, you're talking gas, you're talking sewage, you're talking
Okay, if everyone's ready, we'll start with the motions of the Finance Committee. Item number 1, the resolution. Request the approval of the resolution authorizing a tax anticipation note. I so move.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, question?
This motion is the one that has a tax increase, is that correct?
No.
This is just for the note, in case the lady getting emergencies from the state, so the first one is
Oh, okay, that's my mistake. My eyes are looking at B, and I see what I'm at. So that's the same question I'll have for B, so, thank you.
No more questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Item number 2, request the approval of the final budgets for the general fund in the amount of $77,745,654 and the Connellsville Area Career and Technical Center in the amount of $4,395,400. $4,395,412. And I so move.
Motion and second.
Same question? Is this with the tax increase?
Yeah.
This budget is just for the expenditures, so it does not take into account how we fund. So
Okay,
that's
thank you.
Mr. Bernardo, item D would be involved in the tax increase.
All right, we all know what my question's going to be when we get to D then. Thank you.
No further questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item C refers to budget transfers. Request the approval of the budget transfers, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item D, tax increase. Request the approval of the school district real property tax rate for the 2020-2021 school year to be at 14.7754 mils, which is like 1.47, almost $1.48 per $1,000 worth of assessed value. And that would be an increase from the current millage of 14.2481. And I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. Favor? Oh, so, got a question?
No question, thank you.
All in favor?
If anybody was going to ask if there's an increase in taxes with this, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mondrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Granado?
No.
Mr. Harshman?
Yes.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Martray?
No.
Mr. Marchusi?
Yes.
Mr. Mondial?
I'm going to vote no with an explanation. I do feel that with a little more work on this budget, we can get this down to the point where we wouldn't actually have to have a deficit.
Mrs. Sangston?
No.
And Mr. O'Malley? Motion fails.
Now, I have a question for Marlene. Should I read, are you going to need a motion to keep the taxes at the same level, or that's just automatically going to happen, right?
Do we need that, Tim? Yeah, I would read the second motion then to keep it the same.
Thank you. Okay, this motion is to approve school district real property tax rate for the 2021 school year at 14.2481 mils, which is the current rate without an increase, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was not on the agenda for Monday. Anybody in the audience have a question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item E, request the approval of the homestead farmstead resolution, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Item F, depositories. Request the approval of the following depositories for the Connersville Area School District for the 2021 school year, which will be PNC Bank, Somerset Trust Company, Pliget, PSD LAF, and S&T Bank. And I so move.
Second. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Item G, request the approval for the error and omissions insurance participation agreement for the PSBA Insurance Trust School Leaders, legal liability risk, the risk management program for $31,355, property casual for $145,305, auto for $11,278, excess liability for $12,075, and cyber liability policy Breezely, $9,570, with the broker of record being DeFurio, Moingel and Associates for the fiscal year 2020-2021. This includes coverage for the Connersville Area School District and Connersville Area Career and Technical Center, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item H, workers' compensation insurance. Request approval of the workers' compensation insurance policy from UPMC Health Benefits for $185,885, with the broker of record being Arthur J. Gallagher and Company for the 2020-21 school year. This includes coverage for the Connersville Area School District and the Connersville Area Career and Technical Center, and I so move.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Donations. Request the approval to accept a donation of $16,951.82 from Glenn and Carol Johnson of Greensburg, PA, for the 2020-21 school year for replacement of marching band, concert band, and jazz band instruments. Acceptance of this donation also includes a district commitment of $16,951.83 as budgeted, and a required bid meeting with the Johnsons to review the purchases. And I so move.
Second.
Motion and second, and question.
So we as a board are committing to that $16,000, right? We're not going to come around next year and say, we can't give it to them. This commits us to saying that that money is going to go to them. Is that right?
Exactly.
All right.
This is the second time they've done this for the band and for the school district.
No further questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
And item J, the budget work session was held Tuesday, June 16th, 2020 at 5:30, and I'm sure we're going to have several more in the near future. And that's all I have, Mr. Matt.
time, Joe, I have 2 items I'd like to bring to the board's attention. After consultation with our solicitor and Mr. Evans, I would like to bring back for the board's attention 2 items that were tabled on March 27th, 2020. Robert's Rules of Order require that we reread the motions because once it's been laid on the table for 2 months, it's considered gone, dead, and we need to resurrect it. And these are 2 items that I'd like to put before the board right now. Request approval to award the bid for the resurfacing of the tennis courts located on Falcon Drive to El Grande Industries Incorporated, Denora, PA, in the amount of $89,610, the lowest responsible bid, meeting specifications to be paid for from the capital funds. And I so move.
We have a motion and a second. Wasn't on Monday's agendas. Anybody from the audience have any questions?
Has this been approved by the athletic committee? Has it been run through them?
It was run through the, if I may, it was run through the athletic committee prior to the March 27th board meeting. It was motioned, seconded, but it was then tabled because we weren't sure where we would be with the coronavirus and the start of school this year.
And they have reviewed this.
Mr. Evans and I had a conversation, and I asked him where it was and if it would be still a viable amount and whether the work still needed completed, and he answered yes to all of those.
I throw it back to the athletic committee. What is their opinion on this recommendation? Have you had a chance to evaluate this? Not since March. I really think that we should let the committee do that work for this.
Mr. Harshman, I'm making the motion because I checked, and since it's the money's coming out of capital reserve, which would be a finance category, and since it already moved once through the athletic committee as a motion, as the exact same motion that I just read, and was second, but after discussion, tabled, I am not permitted, I believe, Mr. Wood, if you could speak to that under Robert's rules, to just bring it off the table, which would be the prerogative of the athletic committee. And seeing so, I decided that in consultation to bring it to finance, and you would like to.
Yeah, that's correct. According to Robert's Rules of Order, after a motion has been tabled for 2 months, it's deemed to be dead and it would need to be reintroduced as a new motion. What committees you run that through, that's the prerogative of the board, but it would need to be presented at this point as a new motion. Presented this evening.
But it should have been run through the athletic committee first, correct? I would think.
That's the prerogative of the board in terms of which committee they want to direct that.
Now, that only happens with certain committees, and other ones are maybe just left out cold. He has every right to make any motion he wants to make at any time. I'm not sure.
Do you have a motion on the table?
Any,
I think, we looked at, looking at it back in March, it's tabled. So let's pursue it because we have to get it done. That's what's in bad shape. We need to get it fixed. So I don't see a problem. I put you in motion to that for the track and the tennis.
Just for the tennis courts right now, my second motion would be for the track.
Mrs. Grinnell, can you speak to the bidding process on those 2 items? Did we advertised for bid and we got how many, do you know?
We advertised for bids. We had a bid opening meeting for all of them because of the threshold. I'm not sure who was all there. I know
I can, our board secretary is on top of things here. She had the bid tabulation form she just handed me. It was El Grande Industries for $89,610. And there was a second one from Vasco Sports for $145,000. And they, both of those bidders met the specs. So it was advertised, and apparently you only got 2 people who wanted to bid on it. Okay. One more question. Can you explain where this money came from?
We have approximately $4 million in a capital reserve fund from bond money that can only be used on 2 items. It can be used on capital expenditures, and if we don't spend the money that we received within 3 years from the bond refunding, then we are allowed to use it towards our debt payments, since that's where we borrowed it from. So we need to spend it within 3 years, and some of that bond refunding money's been in there about a year now. So we have 2 years to spend the remaining amount.
Okay, so this money came available when we refinanced the bond, and there was stipulations on how it could be spent.
Yes, and those were last year's, and the savings from that, we did not increase the amount of bond or extend the life of the bond, I believe, but it was purely a savings in interest. Since the interest rates have dropped significantly, it created a huge savings so that we could basically refinance it and have money to use for capital improvements.
Okay, and this money is, just to clarify, it's not a part of our operating budget?
Correct, it's separate.
Mr. O'Matic, what is the timeline on the bid process on that? When was it sent out for bid and when was it approved?
The bid opening, according to the sheet, was on March 16th. That's all I can tell you.
So we're looking at 3 months of, is that bid still a good bid?
That's what I want to know. Yeah, to keep the same bid. If we didn't keep the same bid, I hope we would read a motion that might cost us $200,000 or $300,000 more. That's what I think.
If I may, I was in consultation with Mr. Evans, asked exactly that question, and the answer to that was that they will honor the bids that they had in the motion.
I have a question. How do we know that if we don't put it back out again, that some people will be lower this time because of the COVID and they need business and needing money?
I guess the answer to the question you don't know. It could be cheaper, could be the same price, could be more.
I think it should go back to the athletic committee for final review and come up with a figure, a bid, and let them work on it.
The problem is you got a motion.
Well, we have a motion, and I believe we have to bid the vote on the motion, correct, Solicitor?
That's correct.
Okay. So with that, if there's no more questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hirschman?
No.
Mr. Lake?
Abstain.
Mr. Martre?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Mongeau?
Yes.
Mrs. Sangston? No. Mr. Granado?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Matic?
Yes.
Motion carries.
My second motion is to request approval to contract with ATT Sports Incorporated, Berlin, New Jersey, for the removal of the existing track and installation of a 13 mm AFF Spartan track surface at a total cost of $193,535 or $288,770 if milling and paving of the existing base layer must be completed. Costar Corporation purchasing contract number 014-201 to be paid for by the Capital Reserve Fund as budgeted. And I so move.
Motion and second. Once again, was not on Monday night. Any questions from the board or the audience?
Question, contractor on that? Same one?
Mhm.
Al Grande?
No.
This one says different contractor on the job.
No, yes. Constar.
APP.
Okay.
Like Mr. Brown, APP Sports?
Correct.
On the
13 millimeters, 13 mm. Correct. This is the exact same motion that was made in March, which had a second, after discussion, was tabled. And I'm just reintroducing it because it cannot come off the table. Same explanation that I had before. Same, I talked to Mr. Evans before he went on vacation, and he sent to me this quote.
And again, I believe that this should have been run through the athletic committee as the original motion came from the athletic committee.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't understand how you guys come out of executive session and you seem so dysfunctional. Why isn't this brought up in the executive session? Or if everybody knows, like, it seems like people are left in the dark and we come out here and now we're going to throw this motion out. I understand why you don't talk behind doors like adults do, instead of, coming out here and telling everybody saying, oh, we're going to throw this motion out. It doesn't make sense.
Sir, I don't believe that's an executive session issue. Yeah, yeah.
Executive sessions are limited to very specific items. There's only 6, but 5 that are applicable to public school districts. Contract negotiations for third-party contracts, non-employment or labor contracts. Awarding those contracts, unfortunately, is not an item that can be discussed.
Well, how about professional courtesy?
Did you hear his response to which it, okay, I didn't think you heard it.
No further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lake?
Staying.
Mr. Martrek?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes, I'm good with this motion because I've been trying to get this track done for the last couple of years, so finally we got, people want to do it. So, there's an issue out there, so I'm glad it's getting finally fixed.
Mr. Montiel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sangston? No. Mr. Granado?
Yes.
Mr. Harshman?
No.
And Mr. O'Malley?
Yes.
Motion carried.
That's all I have, Mr. Montiel.
And that's all I have under finance. Mrs. Grinnell, do you have anything else? That's all we have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to food service, please.
Thank you, Mr. Maddox. I have nothing at this time. Mrs. Basinger. And Mr. Horstman.
Nothing, thank you.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Personnel review and liaison, Mr. Wardrow.
Thank you, Mr. Romanek. Item number 1 is retirement. Request the approval to accept the retirement of Michael Ozarowski, custodian, effective July 13th, 2020, and I so move.
Second.
Question.
Motion and a second. Question.
We have after this posted position
I don't think, Mr. Layton, you've ever had a board motion to post. You've always had a board motion to hire.
What?
To hire.
Yeah, well, I mean, or whatever.
Well, no, I'm saying that from my experience from before, the jobs were always posted. And then when they got done bidding, wherever the opening came at the end is when the board hired.
Okay, so they don't, it still is posted.
It-
Posted automatically
Yes, it'll be posted.
for the 4 hours according to.
Yeah, it'll be posted after July 13th. Yeah. No further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Item B, request the approval to pay annual invoice to Frontline Technologies, which is ASOP, for their absence and substitute management system for the 2020-2021 school year in the amount of $13,331.67 as budgeted, and I so move.
Motion and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Item C, request the approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Connersville Area School District and the Connersville Area Education Support Personnel Association regarding the high school guidance secretary, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second. This was not on the agenda for Monday night. Any questions from the public or the board? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
And that's all I have under personnel. Mr. Bernardo, do you have any?
Nothing further, thank
Mr. Martret?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Coconut? Mr. Bradley?
Wish you all good luck and enjoy your retirement.
Moving to policy and legislative, Mr. Marshall.
I have nothing, Mr. Lake.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Bernardo.
you. Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Bradley.
Just as far as legislative, submitted to the Commonwealth, to the House of Representatives and to the Senate was a study on opening of schools that was conducted by the P advocacy groups, so PASBO, PSBA, PARS, PASA, and that is available on the internet at a variety of sources, but you can go to PARS and PASBO and PSBA to find that. It's a great read, and it's a great input as far as what is being requested of school districts as far as reopening. And it's a legislative advocacy piece for us as districts moving forward, and I think it's a great read, and it helps us in our planning when we work into August. Thank you, Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. We have nothing else, thank you.
Thank you. Safety and security, please.
Thank you, Mr. Matic. We have nothing this evening. Mrs. Sangston?
Nothing right now, thank you.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Parlay? Okay, that's all we have.
Thank you. Special education, Mr. Martret.
Request approval of the addendum number 3 to the contractual agreement between Presley Ridge of Greensburg and the Collinsville Area School District for semester rate and summer rate as proposed. And I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
And our committee meeting was held June 8th, 2020. And Mr. Miko, do you think about for next July? You want to go with July 13th? Board meeting?
Absolutely, that's fine.
I believe that's a Monday.
That's all you have, Mr. Martret.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Moving to student services, please.
Student teacher at RMU. Request approval of the student teaching assignment with Robert Morris University for the 2021 school year. I so move.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Interim healthcare, request approval for the healthcare staffing agreement between Interim Healthcare and the Connellsville Area School District beginning July 29th, 2020 through July 29th, 2029, 2021 as proposed. I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Fayette County Drug and Alcohol, request approval to enter into a qualified service agreement with Fayette County Drug and Alcohol Commission for the 2021 school year. I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Resignation, request approval to accept the supplemental resignation of Donald Stoner, Second Assistant Marching Band Director, effective immediately. I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to accept the supplemental resignation of Susan Stoner, Flags and Rifles Coordinator, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
All I have, Mr. O'Malley. Mr. Montiel?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Lake?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. D'Amico?
Nothing, thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving to technology.
Thank you. We have nothing, Mr. Granado?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have.
Thank you. Transportation, please.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Mr. Harshman, you have anything?
Nothing, thank you.
And while we're on transportation, I just want to make a few comments that it's not under transportation, but me and the guy I'm going to talk about, we did a little traveling together for 20-some years. This is Danny Boggs' last meeting, and I just want to say you're going to be sorely missed. Danny, you've been an asset to the school district, and I know we've been through some good times and bad times, but I can see you're always my friend, and you'll definitely be missed. Thank you. That's all we have.
And moving into President's report, I will echo the same as Mr. Lake. Mr. Boggs, I wish you health and good luck on your vacation. Moving to public comment for non-agenda items. We had Mrs. Kowal sign both of them, but I believe she's done. We're moving to Lori Firestone. Donation.
Hi, my name is Lori Firestone. I am the president of the Band Boosters. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for accepting the donation from Glenn and Carol Johnson and also approving the matching funds this evening. I also have a question, though, regarding the return to participation protocol. I just wanted to make sure that this protocol was going to cover all of the summer activities for the band students.
Correct, yes. It's written with such language, and that's actually one of my points of order, so thank you for bringing that up.
Wonderful.
I wanted to make sure that any co-curricular and extracurricular activity, it falls under our return to participation, and this board took a meaningful action to make sure it wasn't just return to athletics or return to play. It's return to participate, whether it's mock trial or ROTC or band. We wanted to make sure we were inclusive, so everyone, now there is provisions, 2-week provisions that we have to abide by to be safe, but we think we can do that, and we're communicating that to all the advisors, coaches, etc.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for approving that this evening. I know we have a lot of students that are ready to get back to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Grace Butella, please.
Good evening. I'm glad that you're now taking questions from the public, because the last time I asked a question, I was told that you had to do it in writing. So that's wonderful. But I would like to talk about Senate Bill 1125, which was introduced by Senator Scott Martin of Lancaster County, and actually was or Senator Safano is also on this bill. And what this would do is, it did pass the Senate, now it goes to the House, and it would allow school districts by resolution to extend the discount and waive any penalties for the taxes, or both. And so if this is passed, is this something that the board may consider? I mean, it would be good if it was already passed and it could already be on the tax notice, but. And it did pass, all members did vote for it in the Senate, so I do look forward to pass. That's just what I wanted to tell you tonight. And again, that's Senate Bill 1125. All right, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment. Mr. Cornell, anything else to add?
I'd like to say one item I forgot to add at the end of the finance section. I would also like to publicly thank the Johnsons for their donation for the musical instruments. And I'm not sure if the members of the board or the public is aware, but Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have been donating money to our school district for a number of years now towards band instruments. And the reason is because their daughter, Beth, was a student at Seton Hill College in 1988 in music and was a very talented music student, which was her passion. And she and a number of people went to study abroad overseas, and she was on Flight 103, which was bombed, one of the first terrorist attacks on America over Lockerbie, Scotland. So in her daughter's memory, they have chosen Connellsville School District, which was the alma mater of Mrs. Johnson, to give their money to, and I really appreciate it. And if you look at your motion, it says there needs to be a bid meeting annually with the Johnsons, and Kathy Rupert and myself and Jonathan Yotze have met with them. We meet with them about twice a year to go over of what we want to purchase and then bids, and they're really wonderful people, and I just thought you might not know the whole story behind the donation. So thank you.
Thank you for that information, and I got to meet those people when they first came here, and it's a wonderful thing that they do. It really is. Under sad circumstances, but it's a wonderful thing they do. Mr. Bradley, any comments from you?
Thank you. I wanted to echo the sentiments from the board members on wishing Mr. Boggs good luck, and he was nothing but gracious upon my arrival. I think I believe he was the second or third individual I met, and he has always made me feel at home and treated me as an equal. And despite his vast knowledge of the district, he's always made me feel at home here. Still trying to figure out his Ohio State fandom, but I wish him luck, and maybe we can go see the Buckeyes in his retirement. Also, I wanted to wish all the fathers and grandfathers a belated Father's Day, and also we have a number of coaches, teachers, mentors that serve as that father figure, and I wanted to thank them as well as members of our staff that serve in those roles as father figures. Happy belated Father's Day to them. Wish Dr. Jacob good luck in her new position. I wanted to clarify that point of order for return participation. That was in my notes. And our building principals will be well aware of this past plan that the board had the foresight to pass and make sure it was inclusive of all co- and extracurriculars. So we will follow that same consistent plan to ensure the health, safety, welfare, and participation of our students. I wanted to congratulate the business office and Mrs. Grinnell's team. Not to miss anybody, but I know that there's a lot of people that go into writing a budget, making budget presentations, spending evenings on those budget presentations, and then rewriting things when we get input, and it doesn't go unnoticed, and those people include, but are not limited to, Mrs. Rupert, Mrs. Porterfield, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. McWilliams, Mrs. Grachik, Mrs. Routson, Mrs. Gogenauer. I thank them because it's the work behind the scenes that go into forming that budget that allows the board to pass that budget tonight, and then the board gives them input, and we go back and go back to the drawing board. Again, this board puts what's in the best interest of the students forward, and I appreciate them passing that budget this evening. Lastly, just double checking here. Lastly, I wanted to congratulate the class of 2020. I was fortunate to go to graduation practice today, and Mr. Kirsch and Mr. Boggs and their crew had the stadium not only sanitarily gleaming, but also pride gleaming. It's really a neat setup for this year. I think that the individuals involved with graduation, the student feedback we got was phenomenal, and the maturity level of those students today was phenomenal, and I hope they had a little nugget of fun today at practice, because I think that Friday will be a fun day for them to finally graduate and consider them alumni of the Connellsbury School District. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. If nothing else, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Yep.